Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into our newest episode. Today, we will be talking with Miss Anda Pho.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Miss Pho. I appreciate you for making the time to be here with us today. Let's get started. Can you give us a brief overview of your job title since college and your work history first?
Sure. I got my start as an investment banker. Then I moved into still finance, but into a consumer company called Gymboree. My title there was financial planning and analysis. So in total, I spent a good 4 or 5 years in the finance realm. I then went back to business school and I went to Wharton Business School. And it's where I transitioned afterwards to work at a company called The Wonderful Company. It's a 4 billion, maybe $5 billion now holding company that owns brands like Fiji Water, Palm Wonderful. And there I spent another 5 years more as a general manager, figuring out strategies and actually how to execute and own a P&L and drive revenue and profitability. So that was a really good learning ground on day to day business. After that training, I went off on my own and joined a startup called True and Co. I was part of the early founding team. True and Co. Claim to fame. We founded a 15-question quiz that helped women find their right bra size and their bra brand, and we would ship them a bra shop. I spent almost 10 years total working on the startup that later got sold to PVH. PVH is the holding company of Calvin Klein. And since then, I spent another 3 years at Calvin Klein where I really helped them take True& Co to the next level and also leverage True& Co to actually create now the number one best-selling Calvin Klein wire-free bra today. Fast forward to today, I am now president at Evite. And at Evite, it's a 26-year-old digital online company. More recently, in the past few years, we're reinventing Evite, starting with myself as the president. And now we're rethinking with this mom-led product team how to really be helpful to users and hosts. So we're creating a lot of new, interesting products for the event planning space. And we're succeeding because we are experiencing record revenue and profitability right now.
Thank you so much. Now, through this really great journey from investment banking, finance, transitioning to business, I'm sure there were many factors from these important experiences you had growing up that influence choices that you're having right now. So let's talk a little bit about that. Where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
I grew up in San Gabriel Valley, in the city of Alhambra. When I grew up there, it was starting to become a lot more Asian immigrant heavy, but by the time I got to high school, it was definitely majority Asian immigrant. Um, and what was my childhood like? Um, I mean, my family is wonderful. I grew up with two very loving parents and a wonderful brother who, I think because I also grew up in the Asian immigrant household, it taught me a lot about, curiosity because my parents came here with nothing. It taught me a lot about, resilience. You have to keep on trying. And I think those two traits really propelled myself and my career in many different ways because without curiosity and resilience, it's really hard to move forward in your career for anybody.
I definitely agree with these statements. And just from personal background and experiences, I can tell that a lot of it has impacted your career journey in the future. As we all know, especially with me as a high schooler, childhood is a place where we can have fun and be free, but it's also where a lot of us are experimenting with our passions that will influence our future careers. So, in terms of your education or your interest as an adolescent, what interests or extracurriculars did you have in high school, and did you feel that they were helpful for college?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Reflecting back, when I was in high school, I had so many interests. I mean, at times, I remember when I was in high school, I would think I should just scale back my interest in extracurriculars. But now, hindsight looking back, I'm sure, you have, or a lot of your viewers have heard of, Steve Jobs' famous journey of, how he did so many different career paths, lived in a commune, and took calligraphy, and that all contributed to him founding Apple and iPhone and iPad and so on and so forth. I think there's something to be said about being interested and very curious, and we're back to the same theme of curiosity in many different things because no matter what you do, you take bits and pieces along with you in your life. And in high school, for example, I played volleyball for all 4 years in high school. And volleyball really taught me teamwork, leadership, because you can't win by yourself in volleyball. It's very important in life as well. I also was involved with debate, and I was involved in categories in debate that were more individual focused, but it really taught me how to compete on an individual level and present myself. So I think that was also very important in other ways. And those are just, a couple examples where I think you could get the idea of how, something so not related to quote unquote career could have an impact to a person and how they think.
I agree, especially with high schoolers right now. Many of them have different interests. I myself have several different interests, and it's really relatable to find other people who also have interests and seeing that it's okay if they're not related to your intended career path. I
Hmm.
like how you talked about all these different activities that still have an impact on your career journey and who you are as an adult, especially going back to when you talked about resilience as living in an immigrant family. I think it aligns in these activities too, as you're learning lessons through volleyball or debate or other activities that help you in the future and in college and beyond. In college, what classes were important for your degree? And of those, which did you enjoy and dislike?
The college classes and degree, now that I think this is a very good question. I think that, I went to UCLA and I graduated with a degree in international economics and a minor in accounting. And I have to preface to your listeners that, before entering into college, I had dreams of becoming a fine artist, but my immigrant family steered me towards something more, stable that they knew where I could establish a skill set. So I think they're right in that way. But I think for all high school kids out there about to enter college, I would pick a degree in classes where you are most curious about so you could get the most learning out of it. And I think college is really more about learning how to learn. It may sound surface level, like, of course, but I think that is the trick in life and career because learning doesn't stop after college. You continuously, have to learn. So I think all the classes that I took were important because I remember I took one class, it was called uh, Asian cinema at play. Sounds so vague. There wasn't a lot of substance to it, but I think the content of the class, it was so different from an international economics major. I learned so much about culture, movie making, that I think it also contributed to how I think as well as a person.
Thank you so much for that. I mean, I know myself, I wonder if I'll ever use trigonometric ratios in my life and other things like when am I going to use the APUS history information that I learn every day. But I do agree that it does add up and have an impact on anything, even if it's just learning something that you may not use as much in the future.
Oh, absolutely. And I think if you excel at trigonometry, or AP calculus on topics where they're challenging for most people, it means that you now master the skill of learning any topic. And I think that's a very real key to future success in life and your career.
I totally understand. You talked a little bit about having all these different interests. What was the defining moment when you knew this would be your career, specifically business or finance, instead of being a fine artist, for example?
That's a great question. I don't know if I had one day or 1 month or 1 year, even, Sarah. I think it was just over the journey where, I did the investment banking. I did, internal financial planning and analysis. And I knew for myself, and maybe this stems from wanting to be that creative fine artist, I needed to be something a little bit more creative and bridge the gap between creativity and business. So when I started working more as a general manager, where your job and you're owning a P&L and L and trying to think of ways to grow revenue, it becomes a little bit more nebulous and I would like to think creative. What are all the ways you could grow this particular business, like Palm Wonderful or True and Co, the bra business? What are things that I could do that nobody else has ever done so I could be unique? So I think in many ways, finding that general management business leader type role is when I started to feel, oh, I like this. I could get good at this. And, bridging it back to my history of what I lean towards is kind of a little bit of liking fine artistry, a little bit of international economics, a little bit of finance, all cobbled up together.
I actually think this is really important. Bridging the gap, as you talked about, between things you love to find something that is uniquely right to you is something that everybody has to go through, and everybody will be very happy to find once they find their specific area of interest. Overall, they'll continue to pursue it in their lives and be happy with it. In your specific career, did you experience any challenges in your journey, such as being a minority or a woman, and how did you work around it?
I think being minority, and on top of that, you layer the female women part. I could say that for myself and a lot of my colleagues and friends have experienced similar things. And I think as we, look forward to the future for, when you enter the career world, I'm hoping that we knock down more of these barriers for the next generation. The way I think about how to tackle it is how do you address it, but not straight on? Because I've been underestimated, is probably the best word for it, for a lot of my career because I'm minority and women. And because you're underestimated, you walk into a meeting and the expectation is just different from you versus a male counterpart who's not minority sitting next to you. And there's a lot of unfairness to it, but what do you do to address it? And to me, the way I think about it is it actually drives me to work even harder to show that I could do it even better. And I think that continuous drive coming from my immigrant background of resilience, that continuous curiosity is what's got me to kind of work around that issue of being underestimated.
Unfortunately, discrimination does happen, but I think it's key that you said it drives you, the underestimation, the unfairness. It has all shaped you into the place you are here today. Speaking of your position at the moment, can you tell us briefly what you do and your responsibilities in your current job?
So I'm president at Evite, and I run a